I'll be here.
Hello, everyone. How is everyone doing tonight?
Hello, Marie. Fine, thank you.
Okay, so let me take a quick look at who we've got on. Okay, we have CB3, we have the 51st district. Here comes CB1 right now, I see. Councilmember Mattio's office is on. Okay, let's just wait like another minute or two for our missing participants.
Video's working. I couldn't get it going. It's on now, I think, right?
Yes, we see you and hear you, Joan.
Good. Okay. Hi, everybody.
Okay, so we have the 3 community boards on. Okay, we're just waiting for Councilwoman Hanks's office. Let me just shoot them a quick text. Okay, I texted them. They should be joining shortly, so I think we should just get started, just so we can move it along. So I'm going to call everybody's name when it's your turn to speak. The order that we established is how you responded, so no, there is no favoritism here. So I am going to call the meeting back to order from this morning's meeting. We are gonna hold all of our housekeeping issues until the end of the meeting. Jerry, I don't think we need to do the pledge again, being we did it this morning and we're just adjourned temporarily. So we're gonna just move right into the presentations. So for the first presentation, we have Ciro from the Noble Maritime Museum. Ciro, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cyril, the Executive Director of the Borough Maritime Collection, one of the constituent museums at Snug Harbor Cultural Center. Thank you for this opportunity to address Staten Island's Borough Board. Can you guys hear me okay? There seems to be,
Yes.
maybe everybody else has to mute. Alan, I think yours is not muted.
Yeah, there is
There is a little background noise. Can
There is.
everybody just mute?
Yep.
All right. So the museum is dedicated to the life and work of artist and sailor John A. Noble, who believed that art should be accessible to all. Admission is always by donation, and a majority of the students we serve receive arts education for free. The centerpiece of the museum, which was restored by volunteers in the 1990s, is Noble's Houseboat Studio. Exhibitions interpret his art, the working waterfront, and the histories of South Snug Harbor and Robbins Reef Lighthouse. Our current exhibition is Andrea Doria, Rescue at Sea, which includes artifacts recovered from the wreck of the famous Italian ocean liner. Ongoing free public programming includes history lectures, monthly sea shanty sessions, and close-knit knitting club that benefits local families in need. In FY22, the museum served 14,791 people, of which 3,124 were students of all ages and abilities. Nearly 85% of those students were children of color, and about 77% came from economically disadvantaged households. The projects that fill gaps in education are the most rewarding for both us and the beneficiaries. Our unique workforce development program, Maritime Careers of New York Harbor, creates awareness about the working waterfront for local elementary and junior high school students. It received acclaim this past summer in an article published by the New York Times, which is included with your copy of this testimony. We're also expanding our first bilingual education program, La Capitana Dice, to meet the needs of English language learners in 3 elementary schools in Mariners Harbor and Port Richmond. We continue to serve neurodiverse students throughout the borough by delivering specially adapted arts education in District 75 schools. This spring will mark our 15th year presenting a cultural after-school adventure program at PS 373 in Myrtle Manor for children on the spectrum. This year's CASA was generously funded by Councilmember Hanks, and we have submitted a request to her to again entrust the museum with this initiative in FY24, as well as to continue to support our education programs in District 49 with a discretionary allocation. On the South Shore, Councilmember Borelli has funded our music education programming for special education students at IS 25 and Huguenot, filling the gap identified by the school's principal. We've submitted a request for the council member to continue this discretionary funding in FY24, as well as the funding he allocates to the museum through the Department for the Aging for our work with seniors at the South Shore Jewish Community Center. We are grateful for past discretionary funding from Borough President Fasella, which helped offset costs associated with staging exhibitions and operating the museum, and we would very much appreciate if he and his office would consider us for such funding again this fiscal year. We also thank the Borough President for the generous capital funding allocation he made for FY23 for an urgent upgrade to the museum's HVAC system, which is past its useful life and uses a refrigerant that has been phased out by the EPA. We have submitted an FY24 capital request to his office, the mayor, and the Department of Cultural Affairs for $700,000 to make this project budget whole this year to avoid further cost escalation. I also urge you to support the capital request made by our colleagues at Snug Harbor, as whatever improves infrastructure at the historic campus is also beneficial to the Noble Maritime Collection. And finally, and perhaps most importantly, I would like to call your attention to the reforms made by the Department of Cultural Affairs to the Cultural Development Fund, which is how the Noble Maritime Collection and many other cultural organizations on the island receive their funding from the city. This is a multifaceted issue which would require a more detailed conversation, and I am requesting meetings with each of our offices. But for the purposes of this testimony, please know that starting in FY23, after years of planning, the DCLA expanded the breadth of CDF to fund culture as a whole throughout the city, and in doing so, raised the minimum award for smaller applicants, amongst other reforms. I and the Noble Maritime Collection staff and board support this effort to make funding more accessible as it aligns with our values. However, there was not an increase to CDF baseline in order to do so, and there has not been a permanent increase in years. As a result, the Noble Maritime Collection's baseline funding went from $65,000 a year for the past 8 years to just $18,669. Panel feedback was positive, and so this reduction was simply a result of the reforms. We thank Commissioner Lori Cumbo for generously allocating safety net funding to the Noble Maritime Collection for FY23 in order to keep our funding on par with recent years. However, we can only count on that $18,669 baseline for FY24, and being short $70,000 to $90,000 in city funding would surely mean a pullback on public programming and staff layoffs. We simply cannot sustain such a cut, and that's why I'm asking or imploring the city council members to consider an increase to DCLA's budget, ideally permanently, and particularly for the CDF baseline. So thank you again for this opportunity, and I can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Ciro. I appreciate it. Ciro, I know you left me a message. I didn't get back to you because I don't have my number yet. So without having that, I wasn't really able to give you, a good answer and everything like that. But, we'll talk. I'll call you tomorrow and we could, discuss a little bit better.
We submitted it already. We had to do it by the
Okay.
28th.
Yes.
So we adjusted it a little bit more to be in line with the capital allocation that the borough president made to us last year. So I think it should be a little bit closer to
Okay.
that. So I think that should be doable. And I would also, if you want to learn more about CDF, I would welcome a conversation about that. It's super important, and it's not only about the Noble. There have been other organizations that have been hit even harder than us. So I just want to make sure everybody is aware. And Jessica Phillips and the CIGs have been helping us advocate. I got appointments with both Councilmember Hanks's office as well as Councilmember Carr's office. And Brianna, I don't know if you're on the call, but I actually have an email out to you. I would love to speak with you about this as well.
Hey, Ciro. Yes, I am here. I was going to say, I'll reach out to you personally over email so we can set something up to discuss.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Okay, does
Of
anybody
course.
else have any questions for Ciro? Okay, thank you, Ciro.
Ciro, Joan Cusack, I'm sorry, I was on mute.
Oh,
A
go ahead.
question. So you're saying now that all the not-for-profits are going to get an equal amount of money no matter what size they are?
No, CDF was expanded so that if you're a small organization, your baseline of funding, your minimum funding increased. So for instance, that's what was experienced, I believe, by organizations who are great close colleagues, Makerspace and Maker
Right.
Park Radio. So they got increases, but in order for them to get the increases, they spread the money that they had they distribute it more widely. Organizations like the Noble, who I'm in a city-owned building, we have a lot of responsibilities. We were getting a lot of funding. We were getting over $100,000 a year. Right now, as it looks, in just a few months at the start of FY24, our baseline can go from 65 down to below 19. And that's being experienced. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn by saying that St. George Theater experienced something as well, similar. Tibetan Museum, National Lighthouse Museum. So we're all in a similar boat, and it's something that all elected officials need to be aware of, just because they're not going to be able to correct this or meet the funding that we used to get without an increase to DCLA.
And is that because these smaller not-for-profits are getting more? Is that what's affecting and hurting you guys?
Partially, yes, partially.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
Okay, so moving right along, we have Alan Aurelia from the Richmond County Orchestra and Riverside Opera Company. Go ahead, Alan.
Hello, Marie. Hello, everybody. Just want to thank you for inviting us to this wonderful meeting, and so we can speak. And thanks again for that. I also
Alan, you're a little low.
Hello?
Can you maybe adjust your volume?
It's all the way up. Can you hear me? Can you hear me any better?
You're not on the phone, you're static too. Something is not working. Your hand might be on it.
Say, can you hear me now?
It's not very clear. It's very garbled, Marie.
Must be the connection. Let me see if I can around a little bit in the apartment. This is a very old building. It's pre-war, and sometimes because of that, you have to move by the window, which I'm doing now. Is it any better over here? You hear me better over here? I can't hear anybody.
Sorry, so we have copies of Alan's testimony, so just in case we can't hear, then we will just give it out to everybody. Go ahead, Alan.
Okay, thank you, Marie. Okay, so I'm a music director of the Richmond County Orchestra and artistic director of the Riverside Company. The Richmond County Orchestra is celebrating its 25th season on Staten Island, and the Opera Company its 27th season. And I want to thank, all the city reps for the funding over the years. That includes the Borough President's office for its continued funding, Willa Hanks' office for CASA programming, and we're delighted that things are rolling along, even though we're not receiving any state funding this year, which is kind of fortunate. But anyway, so thank you for the city funding. It's much needed. And the next thing I want to say about the Richmond County Orchestra and the Riverside Opera Company is that we're mobile. We're mobile. We travel all over Staten Island, all three council districts. And we offer free concerts always to students and children. And up and coming concerts and performances are going to be, we just did a Black Voices concert at the Brighton Heights Reformed Church in St. George. In March, we're going to be at the JCC, March 26th, Manor Road. On April 29th, we're going to be at St. Teresa's Church in Castleton Corners. June 4th, we're at St. John's University, but we're going to miss that venue the next. They've been so kind to us for the past 2 decades. It's going to be sad to see it go. And we don't really know, we do super large productions. Wonderful venue. So we're currently looking for it's large that we can afford. And July 4th, we're going to be in the Travis, July 4th. Right? So we're excited looking for those concerts. I already said that all our concerts are free, all our live concerts, public concerts are free. Students and children. That includes our education outreach programs as well. And during the pandemic, we did not shut down. During the lockdown, we made videos. We posted several videos and they can be viewed on YouTube. And kept everyone employed during that time period. We also always invite we live stream our programs for those individuals who can't attend, so that it's free for them. And we always invite the Staten Island Community Television, and they usually come and film our shows. And so they're streamed then again to the Staten Island community. We perform at all the major concert halls in Staten Island. We're missing the music hall in Snug Harbor because that's been our home for 25 years. We can't wait till that gets up and running. And the St. George Theater, we performed there. We've also been invited and have to Carnegie Hall. We did that just before the pandemic, November 2019. And we also performed at the Guggenheim Museum, a wonderful review in the New York Times. So those were both paid performances. There was no city funding involved. We were actually asked. Funding came from private concerns. No city money was responsible. But I was delighted that we were in a competition with several regional orchestras for these off-island, but especially the Guggenheim Museum. So when they gave us the head. So anyway, I want to thank again from all the city funding we've received over these past 25 and 27 years. And, you know, to maintain things and keep things going and keep, you know, these performances are so important because it gets people out and about, you know. Not only do they come to the concerts, but when they're out, they go to restaurants, they spend money all kinds of other places. So on Staten Island, so it's really, you know, these things are going as they generate all kinds, they keep the economy going on Staten Island. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you today. And again, thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Does anybody have any questions for Alan? Okay, thank you. All right, so moving right along, next we have Kathleen Bielsa from Northfield Community LDC. Kathleen, the
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thanks for allowing me to provide my testimony tonight. My name is Kathleen Bielsa. I'm the Executive Director of Northfield Community LDC. We're always grateful for the support we receive from the Borough President's Office and from the City Council, and also like the opportunity to talk about our successes and our priorities. So Northfield serves the entire borough with our weatherization services, home repair services, and housing counseling. Economic development and community development programs are typically focused in Port Richmond or the North Shore. Each year we serve 100 homes, whether they're owned or rented by low-income families in Staten Island, you know, through our weatherization program. And we're currently working with the owner of some multiple dwellings in St. George to bring some our weatherization services to them. Our Beyond Weatherization program, with funding from New York State, allows us to replace roofs, crumbling front steps, and make other home repairs that we cannot address under the weatherization program. We completed 6 homes to date, and we're working towards at least 30 homes with our current level of funding, and that's actually from the state. As a HUD certified counseling agency, we helped approximately 200 residents annually. We counsel homeowners at risk of foreclosure, first-time home buyers, and those seeking home repairs as well as renters. We help many clients remain in their homes, assisting with mortgage modifications. We helped 40 residents apply to the New York State Housing Assistance Fund, which was created in response to COVID mortgage distress. Very happy to talk about that as a big success for the people that were able to get the support from the state. The program's currently waitlisted, but we'll still be able to help people put in an application. Our reliable presence in the community means that we can bring these resources to Staten Islanders in response to the changing needs in the community. We recognize that thriving communities require housing that's affordable to families who live and work here. And one response to this need is a community land trust. A community land trust is a tool that can be used to help seniors who are facing tax lien foreclosures. We can help low-income residents build wealth, close the racial gap in homeownership rates, respond to overall declining homeownership rates in Staten Island, and provide long-term affordable housing options. So it's a new option, a new model that's gaining traction throughout the country, and we'd like to bring that concept to Staten Island. I think it would be a great tool for providing affordable home ownership opportunities. Staten Island CLT Steering Committee has been working to, we created a mission, we've deliberated our governance structure, and we've discussed the equity limits for resale for properties that are owned on the land trust. We're working to increase awareness of the CLT model, and we're working with College of Staten Island. Hopefully in the next few months, we'll be bringing the forum to the public, just again to increase awareness. And the idea is the land trust would own the land and the home buyer would buy the home that sits on the land. And by taking out the land, taking the land out of the equation, you can offer an affordable home ownership option, which I think is really an important thing for stabilizing communities and, again, helping families to be stable. And we're looking in the next year for support to develop a feasibility analysis to be used to solicit large investments from New York City, New York State, and philanthropic entities, to develop a community land trust. And in my testimony, I provide an example of a family of 4 at 80% of the area median income, purchasing a typical Staten Island home, about $540,000, and using a $100,000 Home First grant that's available, which we help people obtain. And this family, with an income of $106,000 a year, can purchase a home in Staten Island. The mortgage payment would be approximately $2,700 a month, which would be about 31% of their gross income. Without the subsidy payment, their payment increases to 45% of the family's income. So I just wanted to give that kind of an example that the subsidy really does help the individual families that can use the city's grant, but a CLT will give you more wiggle room and allow people at a lower, income to still afford to buy a home. And, just wanted the opportunity to discuss that and also, point out that even with the $100,000 grant, not a lot of people on Staten Island can actually use that grant and purchase a home, because you still have to then be approved for a mortgage. And it's just a very tight, narrow line there for affording a home. So we also work with businesses and residents to foster community development. And this year we're looking forward to working with the Staten Island City Planning Office to engage local stakeholders in pursuing the recommendations of our Port Richmond, Mariners Harbor, Brownfield Opportunity Area. We're, every year securing funding to maintain our service levels is a challenge, and especially with this slow payment of the city, which often happens. But, again, that's why we're here every year, to hopefully get the, the funding that we need to keep these basic services available to Staten Islanders and stabilize the community, improve the quality of life, and, help us act as a force for good in the community. So we look forward to continuing our work with the Borough President's Office, and we have specific requests pending for the discretionary funds offered through HPD for our home ownership counseling or any kind of housing counseling, Department of Small Business Services for work on Port Richmond Avenue, and the Department of Youth and Community Development, which is also actually something that helps with community development. So those are our priorities for this year. So thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Just a quick question. The weatherization program and like some of the other home repairs, is there like is that like only for seniors, or is that available for everybody? Are there income requirements?
Yeah, weatherization is actually for owners or renters. I
Okay.
have to say, typically, it's homeowners are typically on a fixed income. So we do see a lot of seniors, but it is not a requirement. So I'll say right now, a family of 4 earning no more than $65,820 a year would qualify for the weatherization program. An individual can earn no more than $34,224, and they would qualify for that program as well. The state funding that we have is used when we go into somebody's house and we see, to do weatherization, and we see, well, they really need a new roof, or they have the, some windows that they're not showing up in our audit as something we can do under the weatherization program. We can do that under the beyond weatherization program. So that's a nice thing to offer. And again, that is not limited to seniors.
Okay. Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions for Kathleen? Okay, so moving right along, I do not see AJ, who was supposed to testify for the Nigerian American Community Association. We'll just bump him to the back. If he should show up, then we'll just have him. So next is Lisa Sloan from the Pride Center. Lisa, the floor is yours.
Good evening, everyone. The Pride Center of Staten Island is seeking $10,000 in funding from the Borough President's Office to support the ongoing provision of mental health counseling services for LGBTQI+ and allied Staten Islanders, and the Pride Center's transition to an electronic medical record system. According to healthypeople.gov, the lack of sexual orientation and gender identity questions on most national and state surveys makes it difficult to estimate the number of LGBTQI+ individuals and their health needs. The research that does exist suggests that the LGBTQIA+ community is faced with health disparities, many of which are linked to social stigma, discrimination, and denial of their civil and human rights. LGBTQIA+ community centers like the Pride Center of Staten Island have been identified as protective factors against these disparities. The Pride Center's programs and services will benefit the Staten Island community by providing a welcoming environment where LGBTQIA+ and allied individuals can be open about their identities and access resources that will help them thrive. The Pride Center of Staten Island is the cornerstone for Staten Island's LGBTQIA+ individuals, families, and allies. There are nearly 500,000 people living on Staten Island, and the Pride Center is the island's only LGBTQIA+ program and service provider. The Pride Center offers supportive counseling services for individuals, couples, and families, programming for youth and seniors, an HIV prevention program, which includes free and confidential HIV testing, multi-generational social events and activities, and Staten Island Pride Fest celebrations, which are coming up in May. I hope you will join us. The need for the Pride Center and its services is critical in this current socio-political moment. Across the United States, LGBTQIA+ rights are under attack. Transgender individuals are especially vulnerable at this time. At least 155 anti-trans bills were introduced across the United States. And this is, I think these numbers come from the calendar year 2022. At least 18 of them have been passed. Locally, Staten Island Advance Editor-in-Chief Brian Lalene has endorsed Florida's Don't Say Gay law. There has been vocal opposition to LGBTQIA+ affirming events, such as Drag Story Hour at the Staten Island Children's Museum. The local and national climate of hostility towards LGBTQIA+ people compounds existing mental health disparities that plague the LGBTQIA+ community. According to the American Psychiatric Association, LGBTQ individuals are more than twice as likely as heterosexual men and women to have a mental health disorder in their lifetime. The APA also reports that LGBTQ individuals are 2.5 times more likely to experience depression, anxiety, and substance misuse compared with heterosexual individuals. Transgender people, LGBTQI+ youth, and LGBTQIA+ older adults are especially vulnerable. All experience higher rates of suicidality versus the larger LGBTQI+ population. These national trends are reflected in the high demand for counseling services at the Pride Center of Staten Island. Mental health counseling services for LGBTQIA+ and allied Staten Islanders is one of the most utilized services at the Pride Center. Over the past several years, demand for counseling services has increased steadily. Between June 1st and August 31st of 2019, the Pride Center of Staten Island provided 204 counseling sessions for individuals, couples, and families. Between June 1st and August 31st of 2020, the Pride Center of Staten Island provided 426 counseling services for individuals, couples, and families. This represents a 108% increase in the provision of counseling services at the agency. And so while those 2020 numbers may reflect the sort of height of the pandemic, those numbers have not abated in the intervening 3 years. The Pride Center is seeking support from the Borough President's Office to pay a clinical consultant and to transition to an electronic medical record system. And just to give more current numbers, in fiscal year 2022, we served 153 clients in counseling services across 2,110 counseling sessions. The provision of mental health counseling services is one of the ways in which the Pride Center of Staten Island carries out its mission to enhance and sustain the well-being of the LGBTQIA+ and allied communities. The Pride Center is confident that the proposed project aligns with your commitment to the health needs of vulnerable populations on Staten Island. Investment from the borough and the city in programs and services that serve LGBTQI+ and allied Staten Islanders sends the important message that Staten Island is an LGBTQI+ inclusive and welcoming borough. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Lisa. Does anybody have any questions for Lisa?
Yes, Lisa, Alan from the Richmond County Orchestra. Some of our members of the orchestra are LGBTQ, and we'd love to bring a concert over to the Pride Center sometime in the near future. And who should I contact?
I have a new program director who just started today. His name is Nicholas Robinson, and I'm going to drop his, if there's a chat, I'll drop his info in the chat. If not, I will find you.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alan.
Thank you. Anybody else for Lisa? Okay, moving right along, last but certainly not least, we have Jessica Phillips from Historic Richmond Town, who is going to be giving testimony on behalf of the Staten Island Culturals. Jessica, the floor is yours.
Hi, thank you so much. Good afternoon, members of the Staten Island Borough Board and community leaders. My name is Phillips. I'm the CEO of Historic Richmond, Staten Island Vice Chair for the Culture.
Really can't hear that at all.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I looked at Ciro's face and he looked confused. Can you hear me now?
A little bit better. Yeah, but
It's
it's
so weird. I'm so sorry. How about now?
better.
I'm gonna like get on top of the computer.
Yeah.
All right, that better? Right. So I'm the new vice chair of the Staten Island CIGs, which is the Cultural Institution Group. And today I'm here representing Staten Island's 5 SIGs. And on behalf of them, I'd like to thank you for giving us this time to address the Borough Board. Please forgive me as I'm a slow reader and I am representing 5 organizations. As a steward of city-owned buildings and spaces focused on public access, Staten Island
Something, Jessica, you're moving around. All of a sudden you went very low again. You were talking great and very clear, and then all of a sudden it went very low when you moved or pushed something around.
Priya, do you want to go to OJ and then I can go last and probably log in with my phone?
Okay, yes. Okay.
Thank you.
AJ, can you hear me? AJ? AJ, can you hear me? You're on mute if you can hear me. Try to put him in the chat. AJ? Great. Love these sensors that they have. AJ?
Is he on mute?
He is on mute. I
Yeah.
don't know though if
His
he
name.
can. I'm gonna try to.
And this is important stuff. I mean, I wish.
I'm putting it in the chat, but.
Yeah.
I don't, AJ? I don't know if he has his chat open where he can hear me, where he
Right.
can see it.
Yeah, it's possible.
Okay, you know what, Jessica, do you think you're ready to go? Because AJ, I don't know if he's on mute. He doesn't seem to be able to hear me.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, all right, still good. I'm not moving around. There's no weird. Okay, awesome.
That's good.
I'm not gonna read my introduction again. So here it goes. As the stewards of city-owned buildings and public spaces focus on public access to culture, the Staten Island CIGs provide accessible and diverse experiences to residents and visitors. We belong to our communities and play an essential role in civic and economic life, supporting public life and public health for the public benefit. We are key to attracting both residents and tourists to our neighborhoods. We infuse our communities with education and cultural vibrancy and offer spaces for restful contemplation and active engagement. We steward the island's unique cultural and environmental assets for the public and bring joy through experiences to residents and visitors alike. To save time, I'm going to skip the next paragraph. Each of our institutions are unique. All of us protect and steward city assets and underpin the cultural and civic life of our borough. All are economic drivers of our communities, but don't take my word for it. Here are the statements from each of the Staten Island CIGs so they can tell you in their own words. The Staten Island Children's Museum is a popular weekend destination for families from around the region. The Children's Museum recently added new exhibit components, including a giant 3-level climbing structure that replicates an anthill, which, by the way, my small children truly enjoy. They're in a cage. It's amazing. A water cannon activity where young visitors can pretend to extinguish a house fire, and an outdoor water table that you can build dams with and move toy boats to various water hazards. The Children's Museum school programs serve 30,000 students both at the museum and in schools. These enrichment programs actively encourage open-ended inquiry and opportunities for self-directed, independent discovery. Topics covered include learning science through cooking and the history of dance through the lens of the music from the Harlem Renaissance. The Children's Museum distributed 2,000 art kits to UPK programs to provide materials and creative opportunities for toddlers to use at home. The Children's Museum serves more than 100,000 visitors and students a year. The Staten Island Museum has been devoted to natural science, art, and history for over 140 years. This year, the Staten Island Museum presented the exhibition Yes and, a survey of art and artists connected to Staten Island, showcasing 36 artists from around our community and providing more than $30,000 in artist stipends. That's unheard of. Staten Island Museum is thrilled that school groups are returning for trips and aim to resume full services this year. A new exhibition opening in April, Vulnerable Landscapes, will present art and science-based projects that address the fragility and resiliency of our shorelines. Staten Island Museum is about to begin a renovation on the first phase of and has a capital request in to complete the innovative STEAM Education Center in the adjacent building to create a unique hands-on experience with science about our island's environment. Next up, we got our favorite, the Staten Island Zoo. It was the first of America's zoos to be founded more than 80 years ago with an educational mission. The zoo is committed to its mission of conservation and education and inspires and serves over 170,000 diverse visitors a year. The zoo is home to over 1,200 animals, which are made up of 300 different species, and 30 of them are in the species survival program as they're endangered. The Education Department annually enriches approximately 50,000 school-age children through a variety of programs. The Borough President, the City Council, and the Department of Cultural Affairs has allocated $11 million in capital support to create the Clove Entrance Discovery Zone, and this project is in the design phase and is set to start construction in 2026. Second to last, the Snug Harbor Cultural Center and Botanical Garden is an unexpected oasis where the arts, history, and nature converge. Programs in arts, horticulture, urban farming, and composting reflect and celebrate the vibrant diversity of Staten Island. The city's only free botanical garden, Snug Harbor's grounds are open daily, offering outdoor exploration and discovery. It serves as a hub for civic engagement initiatives on Staten Island, as well as serving as a COVID-19 testing and vaccination site. And Snug Harbor continues to partner with the city to distribute free home test kits. Last year, Snug Harbor donated 5,000 pounds of produce. That's a lot of veggies. sustainably grown on their heritage farm, to Staten Island's food pantries, and also serves as a critical Staten Island mid-sized compost processing center that operates food scrap drop-off collection for residents across Staten Island. Snug Harbor's robust workforce development initiative provided green education and career training for young adults, serving 10,000 participants annually. The Newhouse Center for Contemporary Arts is the home to a robust season of artist residencies, exhibitions, and community-focused performances. The campus is home to 2 other CIGs and a multitude of cultural organizations, including Ciro Galano Jr.'s Noble Maritime Museum, and is proud to be a central attraction to Staten Island's efforts to attract both new residents and tourists. Okay, so I'm almost done. Last but not least is my own organization, Historic Richmond Town, which has been serving the community for 167 years. We operate the largest collection of the oldest houses in all of New York State. And this last year, we became a state historic district. And through the animation of 40 historic structures across 112 acres, around 4 unique properties, and an artifact collection of 70,000 plus pieces, we bring the preservation of Staten Island's built environment and material culture of its residents to life. Over 90,000 people visit Historic Richmond Town annually, and 20,000 of them are school children. They all get to experience an immersive experience relating to our community's history. And here is the closing paragraph. Thank you so much for listening. In conclusion, the 5 Staten Island SIGs are a vital resource to our borough and city, providing essential services to children, families, and seniors of all income levels every day. We are key drivers of economic development in our communities, drawing existing and new residents, businesses, and tourists. Collectively, we employ over 200 people, educate tens of thousands, contract local vendors and suppliers, and impact the lives with the arts, into the lives of Staten Islanders every day. We are where Staten Islanders often have their first encounter with the arts, meeting animals from around the world, learn about our community's history, and soak up our natural environment. We ask you for your support and advocacy to protect the city funding that is crucial to our daily operations. Thank you so much for your time, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Jessica, Joan Cusack. Question now, these are 5 vital and very good not-for-profits that you're talking about. I have one question that I get asked all the time because I always promote the not-for-profits on the North Shore. Amongst the 5 of you, has anyone come up with some kind of a plan to get more people to the North Shore from the other end of the island, to attract them, to make them want to come to the culturals on the North Shore? Is there a committee that works on that?
As a Mid-Island cultural, the most southern CIG, I haven't heard of any of those initiatives, but I will certainly bring that back to
I think that's a good initiative if they could put together a committee and even invite people from outside that's not involved with the culturals to find out what they could do to bring that. That's the biggest problem they have, even the ferry hawks. It's the biggest problem we have on the North Shore. And, as you know, I represent the North Shore District for the Community Board. And it hurts, breaks my heart to see the lack of interest in a lot of the great culturals we have on the North Shore.
Excellent. I will definitely bring that back to the leadership.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Sorry, thank you, Jessica. Does anybody else have any questions for Jessica? Okay, thank you, Jessica. So AJ had texted me that he was talking, but he didn't think we could hear him, which was accurate. So he said he was going to log out, and then try again. So here he comes. Let's see if we can get him. AJ, can you hear me? If you can hear me, unmute yourself, and you have the. Okay, we lost him again. Okay, until he logs back on, thank you everyone for attending and for testifying. I appreciate it. If you want to leave, I know you all have busy jobs and busy days ahead of you. By all means, you can leave. We're gonna hope we could get AJ back on, but in the interim, I'm gonna proceed with some of our regular board business in the interim. So if you'd like, by all means, you could stay, but if you're busy, by all means, don't feel obligated to stay. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna go now for attendance, all members of the board are present right now, so we do have a full quorum. Then Brooke was kind enough to send everybody a copy of the minutes along with the agenda and everything. So I just wanted to see if I could entertain a motion to accept the minutes from last
Yep.
month.
Accept the minutes. Accept the
Jerry
minutes.
first. Can I have a second, please? Elena second. Thank you. Okay, we did not have any correspondence for the board this month. So next we are up to old business. Does anybody have any old business to bring up? Okay, moving right along to new business. Does anybody have any new business to bring up? Okay, we have a few groups who have reached out to us to speak at the April meeting. No one is confirmed yet, so when I know, I will let you know. We had the Mayor's Office of Nightlife was one that reached out to us, and we had a few others, so I will let you know if you know, how that goes and if we're able to schedule, because they did ask for like April dates and May dates. So we'll see. And then, you know, when we have more, we will let you know. Okay, just bear with me for 1 minute. I just want to text AJ before we finish to see if he's going to log on again so we can just give him the benefit of the doubt. All right, let's just give him a courtesy of another minute or two while I'm waiting to see what he says. Okay, I have not heard back from him, so I am going to just I think we should just adjourn, especially being that he has had issues with oh, hold on a second. Oh, okay. He's in an area where he has bad where he doesn't really have a good signal. So then let's just adjourn, and then what I'll do is I'll get his testimony, his written testimony, and then I will give it out to all the members of the board so we have it. Okay, so can I just entertain a motion to adjourn, please?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, Rob first, Jerry second. Thank you very much for everybody for attending. I appreciate it. I know it's a long day with the 2 sessions today, so thank you, and we will see you next month.
Thank you very much, everyone. Take care, Marie. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Good night. Thank you.